Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me here again today. Today, we're going to be going a little deeper into the topic of neutrality and the embodiment of neutrality as we go deeper into our 30 days of discussing the process, the integration of rebirth and death. This is a very important topic for this month because it is the month that we are discussing life and death and those cycles. And essentially, how do we cultivate the ability to process life and death as a part of these natural cycles, which is obviously very challenging for us because the number one part of the incredible illusion of this duality is that we get so deeply entangled and we fall asleep into hypnosis, into the physicality of this realm. And of course, the physicality of this realm triggers the sensations, thoughts, emotions through the senses that makes this realm feel very real because we are processing the information through the sensation body, right? Hold on. Sure. Right. So let's discuss that a little bit further. And essentially, how is it that we process these perceptions through the senses in a way that we are not taken out of harmony, which is the most important, out of balance, which is the basic, to not be taken out of balance, but secondly, to not be taken out of our internal harmony. Right. So that's essentially the key. Anytime that we are being taken out of our state of harmony, we are essentially spiraling in a disconnect into a self-destructive cycle. So we want to begin to understand what that is. Okay. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today, and let's go ahead and start. I want to talk a little bit about just really quickly the website. In case anybody's been having some trouble accessing the website. I know that I received some questions last week about it. Hello, Nelly. Hello, Snow. Hello, Mafona. Great to see you here today. Let me just go ahead and share really quickly my screen here. Just to open that up, we are looking at the course here under challenges. And under challenges, we are accessing the information for this course. You can go ahead and access additional slides and information that you are welcome to join there. And of course, unlimited replays of this challenge. Okay. So also, those of you that had joined me for my event this last weekend, where we deep dived into the incarnation cycle and talked about the cycles of incarnation and did a hypnosis. Those of you that did register for that class are going to receive the replay for that class, but also those of you that have not signed up for that, it'll be available for access, only you will be accessing the replay. Okay, so you can go ahead and catch that replay. It'll be on my website. We are working behind the scenes to get that set up, and it should be published by later tonight or tomorrow morning for you guys to just register and access the information. But those of you that have registered already can just simply go inside. You're going to receive a password and you can access that. So another thing I want to mention is that I have a very special event hosting a meditation sound bath on the 25th of October. It's going to be a wonderful, beautiful, beautiful location. It's a new location. It's an outdoor garden setting in Palo Alto in a beautiful home of our dear friend Matt, who's so graciously invited us to host there in his beautiful home. And you are welcome to join me there for Alchemy Sound Bath. Now, my sound baths, for those of you that have attended, are a combination of profound, deep shadow work combined with frequency healing. Okay, so this crystal bowls are being played at frequencies to assist you in dislodging and clearing this kind of stagnant energy from your body. And of course, I'm guiding a meditation to assist you in clearing those layers of the body so that you can alleviate any stress, any pain, any stagnation in the body that is causing a disharmony. Okay, so you're welcome to sign up for that. All right. So let's get started on today. There's a couple things that I really want to share with you, but in the topic of entering and training the body into a state of neutrality, there are some key steps that we need to take in order to get there and to embody that. So let me share that with you, because one of the most difficult parts of accessing a state of calm and harmony regardless what happens around us, when we are in the presence of death, when we are seeing lots of death around us, for example, with the global events that are happening in the world today, how can we maintain a center? This is important because we need to remember that we are the ones that co-create our reality, right? So everything that we are feeling and sensing inside of this energy body is essentially what we can control. And we cannot control anything else. Everything outside of that is a trigger and a reflection through the experiences of things that we are holding in the subconscious mind. Okay, so we come into our greatest clarity in order to begin to come into that highest state of neutrality. How so? Let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, so in order to embody neutrality, there are a couple of things that are the cornerstone, the basis of the embodiment of neutrality. And the cultivation of neutrality results, okay, so from the state of neutrality emerges three things that are your greatest state of protection and co-creation. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, that essentially a lot of people ask me, how do I protect myself when I'm in these terrible circumstances in my life? Either they're relationships or difficult experiences that we are witnessing outside of us. How do I protect myself? Okay, well, the formula for protection is to train ourselves, first of all, to have a regulated nervous system. And the regulated nervous system is cultivated through the deprogramming of trauma and limiting belief systems that are in the subconscious mind, acting out through our everyday behaviors. Okay, number one. Number two, how do we cultivate neutrality in every area of our life is by basically creating extremely strong foundation. Okay, how do we create this strong foundation within us that cannot be shaken by any circumstance that occurs in the external hologram of the matrix? Everything around you is a holographic projection, an experiential projection of all the belief systems that you have embedded within your DNA. So if within you have an internal disharmony, you are going to experience that in the external. Okay, so here's the thing. The formula for embodying neutrality is rooted in a sense of internal harmony. Okay, it is rooted in a balance of dualities. So your feminine and masculine aspects of yourself, inside out of your body, subconscious mind, conscious mind, and actions. Okay, all of the balance of those dualistic perceptions of yourself, which are essentially integrating compartmentalized aspects of yourself. And number three is unconditional love. Okay, the cultivation of unconditional love, which is essentially the ability to see all things as an extension of yourself. Everything around you is an extension of yourself. This is absolute key to understanding how to train neutrality in the body. Okay, so let's start with the self. Okay, it's in three categories that we need to cultivate, these three cornerstones of neutrality to create a very strong foundation of neutrality within us and to embed it in the programming of our subconscious mind. We have to affect all the spheres of our existence. Okay, so the sphere of control, which is essentially ourselves, our perceptions, which basically are everything that extend outward from those perceptions, our sphere of influence, which are the things that we are charging through the emotional body and through our intentions, the input that we put into the holographic structure. And the hologram basically resonates scenarios, people, places, and things that are in vibrational frequency to that. And then there's everything else, right? So in the realm of everything else, we're going to break that down in just a minute, is essentially everything in the interdimensional realm, everything in the greater whole and the collective, which is also a reflection. And in the category of everything else can be broken down to where you live, the people you surround yourself with, the kind of job that you have, your state of health, okay, the country that you live in, and then when we go deeper, the continent that you reside in, and if you go deeper, it goes into the ancestral lineage and programs that you have been born into. Okay, let's go deeper. We talk about the collective experience of choosing to experience duality as you incarnate on Earth. Okay, so as you can see, all of these realms are affected by the experiencer, which is at the center of the sphere of control. The only thing that the experiencer can control, because this is a dimension of manifestation, it is a dimension of experiencing, bringing the non-physical into physical through manifestation, through the experience of contrast and duality. So the one that is projecting outward the intention of co-creation is at the center of the sphere of control. And the language that is being spoken across all these dimensions is essentially the language of vibrational frequency. Okay, that's the most important thing to understand. And the language of of frequency is emotions. Okay, so your emotions are the charge that creates. What does that mean? When you are trying to manifest something, the emotion that you put towards what you're trying to manifest will make it come true, or it will destroy it. Okay, and this is really important because we as humans are confused completely about our intentions. In fact, we believe that we do things for a reason. Some of us might think that we're doing amazing, wonderful things in our life. But as we sit and review the intentions behind the things that we do, we might discover that at the root of these things are actually pretty deep insecurities, pretty deep disconnect from the self, a lot of survival mechanisms that drive our attention. And the entire marketing industry, the entire matrix essentially capitalizes on the fact that humans do not know themselves. Capitalizes on humans, and capitalizes on humans in such a profound way that even the structure and timeline of our lives are basically designed to maintain us in kind of a groundhog day of repetitive hypnosis, of repeating the same programs over and over again so that these systems could be heavily solidified. So there are many different systems that we are participating in the co-creation of. The individual system, the micro system of the individual and the family is the first sphere that we are primary interacting with. But it's also the last sphere that is affected by the greater chain of influence from the top down. Okay. So the end goal of all of these interconnected systems is the intention behind it. And even though the intention might seem that it's coming from the external, in reality, the microsystem of the individual, the family, the core unit, is actually the one that is participating in the co-creation of all of these dimensional realms. Okay, so we go a little broader and we're looking at local institutions and interactions within systems. We go a little broader and we're looking at policy, local medias. We go a little broader, we're looking at societal views. A little bigger, we go to the virtual system, okay? And if you go a little further than that, you're going to go into the interdimensional realm. Now, in between these, we're going to see a lot of AI and a lot of technology that is on the verge of touching potential consciousness or programmable consciousness, perhaps you can say. And so all of this is important because we are essentially heavily, heavily influenced by the intention of these systems. And if we are not aware of our participation in opening ourselves up, making ourselves available to this information, it will be very easy for us to fall to the manipulation of these systems. Okay? So all of this important to talk about. Why is this relevant to the topic of neutrality? Because I want to explain to you how difficult it is for the human to become neutral because of the entanglement, the level of entanglement that the human has to realize that is within themselves in order to uncover the layers that they hold within them of disconnected communication within these systems. We are, unfortunately in survival mode, which takes our attention from the bigger picture into the immediate, a very myopic view of what is important for the human. And this blocks the human from being able to access really core data that is actually more relevant to the survival, harmony, and well-being of the human. And that is because our survival is, in a sense, manipulated to look outside of us through the illusion of the physical realm. Okay? So what happens is that anytime that we start to feel lonely, disconnected, unworthy, anytime we start to feel that we're not good enough, we begin to manipulate our surroundings. We believe we're manipulating our surroundings by becoming consumers, becoming addicted to relationships, sex, the external validation, money, consumerism, the things outside of us. Even we get lost in religious concepts or spiritual concepts, drugs, it can be, some of these ayahuasca or DMT or whatever it is, that we completely fill our lives with everything and anything to take us away from facing the emotions that lie at the core. Okay, and so in order to reach neutrality, which let's revisit again, right? In order to embody a state of harmony, in order to be able to balance dualities, in order to be able to access unconditional love, coming into this harmonious integration within is completely essential. And that internal harmony means that the internal war between your dualities has ended. Okay, so the part of you that is fighting for love, that goes into these imaginary wars, war is always a choice. It's either a business or a choice. Okay, so we have to understand, are we participating in the business of war within our bodies by becoming consumers or just completely depending on an external source to fulfill this war, right? Or, are we creating this internal war internal to us, where parts of us that we have not met are essentially the reason for disconnect and survival? So let's visit what are the dualistic aspects of the human self. Hello, Marija, Rob, Core, so great to see you. APOC, Cynthia, Monique, Snow, Christine, so wonderful to see you guys. It's wonderful. Unlearning indoctrination takes some time, especially when it's been embedded from age 0 to 7, but not impossible. Others have already done it. Exactly, you're absolutely right. And we are all participating in breaking these cyclical patterns that are deeply, deeply embedding in our subconscious mind. We begin to break these patterns by choosing every single moment things that are in alignment with us, and things that are not in alignment with us, we just immediately release. Okay, John, thank you so much for joining me. It's so wonderful. Thank you. Geraldine, I made it to your late night. Yes, thank you for joining me, John. So wonderful. Just wake up half an hour ago. Great. Thank you for joining us. Rob Core says, peeling back those deep layers like an onion. Yes, these systems that we are born into, very interesting, hard to discern this reality. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And actually, that was one of the most difficult things in my process of awakening, is to even recognize which one of these programs that we're running is a program that we are indoctrinating, that we have been indoctrinated with, or how many of these things are real. And discerning between these programs is very difficult in the beginning. And I'm going to share with you what helped me, because it can be very confusing, right? Maria, thank you so much for this super chat. You are so sweet. I am so grateful to you, beloved soul. Thank you. Kira777 is so great to see you. Welcome. It's so kind of you. Let's go back over here. I want to share the next point in this presentation. Let's talk about dualities. Okay, so let's go into the element of dualities in the embodiment of neutrality. Okay, so what role do our dualities play in the element of neutrality? So let's take a look at that. And we've talked about this in other classes. Because encoded in our bodies, so in our biology of the body, is encoded the code for harmonious integration of this universe. Okay, so this is why the more you know yourself, the more you are aligned, in tune with the truths of the universe, the greater truths of the universe. And I just had this beautiful conversation with my father yesterday about this exact topic. And what does he say? When we connect with nature, the more we embody nature, okay, the more we know the laws of the universe, right? Right there, absolutely 100%. Now, this is coming back to the nature, the innate nature in the humanity, okay? So what happens to the poor human? It comes into this realm of separation, and it's not really a poor human, but the human becomes confused because it goes through a amnesia, right? It goes to this hypnosis where it completely forgets at the moment of going through the 0 point of the birth canal coming into its physical. It forgets completely, because of the density of this layer, the memories that are available to the child gestating in the womb no longer become as available to the child. And so what happens is that their ancestral memory, their interdimensional memory, the memory of their past lives, future lives, and the access, the knowing to be able to access that information, becomes severed because of they go through that 0 point. And so this is the thing, that in training our ability to go through these transition points, the key is to be able to be in resonance with the 0 point, so that we don't lose. Because what happens when we enter into a 0 point? Let me come over here and show you. Okay, anytime that we enter into a 0 point, we are essentially coming into absolute neutrality. Okay, so what does that mean exactly? The moment that we enter into the 0 point, we are all. You see how we become one? The two separate units become one whole thing. Okay, so if you become one whole thing in the 0 point, then you cannot lose the memory of anything. If you sustain the wholeness when you come out of that 0 point, or when you move away from that 0 point, you won't forget everything. But if you cannot sustain this 0 point in your organism, let's give the example of birth. And in the same way that we experience this amnesia through the birth canal at birth, we also experience it at the time of death. Okay. But at the time of death, we are brought immediately, violently back into the memory of the whole. Okay. So at the time of birth, we forget the whole because we go through the birth canal, through the 0 point that takes us back to that neutral state. But because we are not equipped with the tools, unless you're an indigo child or crystal child or rainbow child, that is already having activated DNA that will recall the memory, right? So every new wave of child that's being born, every new generation is prepared with the ability to sustain higher bands of frequency each generation, okay? Keep that in mind. However, the generations that we have come in through, we're still experiencing that severe disconnect between the vibrational frequency, the activation of the ancestral memory in the womb, and the process of going through the 0 point, in which we don't have the tools accessible to us immediately to recover those memories. Now, some children do recover all of those memories when they end up on the other side of the birth canal, and they begin to have visions. These are children that sometimes are autistic, okay? They are from the spectrum. They're deeply, deeply interacting in this interdimensional realm. They are deeply engaged in heightened sensitivity and access to interdimensionality, okay? That is the beauty of these artistic children. On the other side of that, children that are born with these heightened DNA, they essentially have the ability of accessing higher bands of frequency, which allows them to remember and to see beyond the physical realm. Okay, so this is where you have children that have invisible friends, right? They have invisible friends. They begin to connect with the other realms around them, in and around them. Sometimes they are seeing ETs, sometimes they are seeing ghosts. You see, we have all kinds of activity that is available to these humans, essentially. So we need to understand that memory is available to us all the time. It's in our DNA, it's encoded in the cells of the body, it's in the holographic field, in the morphogenetic field. Okay, at the time of death, if we have not recovered that memory through the deprogramming of trauma, collective trauma passed down through the generations, at the time of death, we will not remember, and we will be lost in the unknown when we detach from the physical. This is both a vibrational frequency thing, and it's also having to do with the cultivation and activation of life force, bringing the human into its highest ability of co-creation. Okay, so this is why the ancient Egyptians worked so hard to learn how to navigate dream time in order to train themselves, right? Why did they use the term of training themselves to be able to navigate these other realms? Okay, so the moment you detach from the body, you are shifting densities again, right? You went from a non-physical water state into a very solid physical state through the birth canal. And at the time of death, you are leaving the heavy, heavy physical body and all of its interdimensional attachments into the non-physical, okay? So that process of going into the non-physical, you must have trained lucidity in your dream state in order to navigate the unknown, okay? The reason why it's unknown is because the human does not know itself, okay? So what do we do in training this neutral state is that the more we come into neutrality, don't apply meaning, don't judge the things around you. You train your nervous system to be able to sustain higher bands of frequency. Through meditation, you are also growing gray matter in your brain and down your spine, which makes you a conduit for life force, okay? You can access more source cord through the body, which at the time of detaching the physical body creates a beautiful vortex vessel that allows you to embody that source frequency in your body again. Okay, so this is the element of death that we have to understand in the process of embodying neutrality. This is why neutrality is extremely important. It's not just a thought form, it's not just a concept, it's actually an entire architectural structure of the body. It is a mechanism that allows this physical body to detach into the non-physical. Okay, so this is essentially what we are trying to learn how to do. And let's go into this element of the integration of the emotional body, because let's take it a step deeper. Okay, so the physical body essentially is divided into planes. Okay, and all of the planes of the body are creating frequencies. They self-organize frequencies in the body. Okay, the right side of the body is the masculine, the left is the feminine, the back of the body is the feminine, the front of the body is the masculine. So we can understand how ranges of frequency organize themselves within this organism. Where we are holding blockages in the body dictate where the body is stagnant in its ability to process information. And number two, where we are holding this information in the body essentially creates stagnation and illness. It also creates limitation in our perception. When we're talking about coming into the highest state of vortex spin, we can't really spin very fast. Okay? So the neutral state is the highest spin rate of the body. Neutrality is the highest spin rate of your multidimensional body. Neutrality is the key to embodying the Merkaba. Okay? The Merkaba, which is essentially the movement of all bodies into integration, into the focusing and the redirecting of this life force into co-creation. So we want to understand that the creating the neutrality in the body through the charges of the emotional body is essential. What is it that we're rebalancing? Let's take a look at that for a moment. Okay. Now, if emotions are charges, right? Remember that you are bioelectrical. Number one thing that you are is bioelectrical. So you have a piezoelectric function in your body. The spinal cord functions like a piezoelectric transduction mechanism. Okay, the chakra energy systems functions like a transduction system. Every time that you alchemize an emotion from one frequency into another, you are creating a transduction process. This transduction process of transforming energy from one form to another form of energy is essentially what we are doing in the process of alchemizing our emotions. We want to elevate the vibrational frequency of each emotion into its highest neutral state. Okay, so the highest neutral state of the emotion will basically define our overall genetic system, genetic structure. All of this information is embedded in your DNA. It's going to change the food that you're eating. Your emotional state changes the food that you're eating, the food choices. Your emotional state changes your habits, your addictions, your behaviors of escapism. Connecting with the emotional body, emotional regulation changes the way that you choose to behave in your life. Anxiety, stress, it changes the redirection of your life force from the external towards the internal. Okay, so emotions are the charge, the key to completely shifting the way that the body is spinning from a centripetal, centrifugal state of spinning, centrifugal, which means that we are depleting. Okay, energy is exiting the body. You cannot be a transduction mechanism if energy is leaving the body. You have nothing to utilize for your life force. So when we don't embody this regenerative energy in the body, we become old, right? We age, okay? The body becomes sick. We get all kinds of illnesses in the physical and in the mental states, okay? We essentially become frail and weak, and we do all kinds of things that are self-destructive towards the self in all areas of our life. We become destructive in our relationships. We become destructive in the things that we say. We become destructive in our actions towards others. Okay. And most of the time, the level of unconsciousness that we embody at that point is a process of major self-sabotage. It is a direct expression of a human that does not love themselves. A human that does not know themselves doesn't have the ability to love themselves. And your ability to love yourself is a direct reflection into every action of your life. So if your behaviors are mostly destructive, self-destructive, that is a clear indication that we lack self-love. Now, self-love is the charge of energy that creates an implosion. Okay, what happens when we direct energy and focus it on one point? Essentially, it becomes so hot that it implodes. The instant of something collapsing violently inward. That's the implosion process. This is what we are doing. We are creating an implosion inwardly. We fall deeply within ourselves. Remember the saying, you fall in love. You fall deep in love. Why is that something that's being said? Because the collapse of the violent energy inward is the process of implosion. The implosion is what creates mutations in your DNA. Implosion is what activates your DNA. Implosion is what activates your Merkaba light body. Implosion is what creates the highest point of a spin rate in the 0 point. Self-love is the key. The redirection of our life force from self-hate and self-sabotaging, self-abusive behaviors that implode outwardly, okay? The explosion means outward, okay? So when we are exploding outwardly, whether with rage, with anger, looking outside for validation, confirmation, looking outside for sex, for love, for comfort, you know, all of the consumerism, all the things that we're looking to buy outside of us, everything that is an explosion of your life force. Your life force is depleted, okay? So we talked about the core of the implosion process being self-love, which essentially, remember, self-love is beginning to access the vibrational frequency of Earth, okay? Remember that the entire study and science of the orgone energy frequency, okay, remember orgone energy. Orgone energy is the vibrational frequency found in nature, similar to the energy created through an orgasm. It is the bliss state that is created from profound self-love. That is the resonance of the earth. It is the resonance of nature. So as I mentioned before, the more you get to know yourself, the more you are aligned with nature. You are a fractal of infinite potential, of infinite creation. So the implosion that you're creating by redirecting your life force towards self-love is actually the key to unlocking the universal consciousness, your connection to infinite information to provide you with health, longevity, understanding. Okay, so regulating the emotional state is essentially working with the scale of frequencies of emotions one by one. First of all, get to know every single emotion. I want you to Google a list of emotions as complete as possible. And your homework is to sit with those emotions, every single one, and to begin to identify what trigger does that cause you in your body. Okay. How many of these emotions cause you to go into survival mode? How many of these emotions cause you to go into fight, flight, or freeze? Okay. And essentially, as you get to know yourself, what's going to happen is that you're going to begin to question programming. Okay, we talked about programs, indoctrinating programs at the beginning of this session. Why? Because we're getting here to the core root of how to alchemize those programs. If you understand why you react to emotions, triggers, the way that you do, you can understand the belief systems you have behind your perception of those emotions. Okay, so if dad was an angry man that had angry outbursts that were violent and threw things and had a bad mood, and the entire house was terrified of him, well, that is your program into how you believe you need to process anger. And that is not a complete truth. Okay, so how do we know what is true? Is the following. We want to look at the highest, most collective truth. If your truth is only true for one or two people or very specific circumstances, chances are your truth isn't going to be the one that holds space in the collective and isn't the one that is going to take you into an expansive state of healing for yourself. Okay, so we want to begin to question our belief systems and begin to understand how many of the things that we believe are true as a result of our emotional responses actually are something that is constructive for ourselves. And if the answer is no to all of them, well, what is true then? Okay, first way that we identify that, first you identify what is true for you. Okay, so let's go back here to the sphere of influence. The first thing we need to understand is what is true for us. So this requires a severe honesty. And this is one of the hardest things for the human. As I mentioned in the beginning, when I began to look at my programs, I was so confused. I didn't even know what was real, what was true, what is not true. Okay, so to be able to revisit those programs and to begin to sit with the way that we genuinely feel about them requires you to get out of your ego, requires you to get out of survival mode and to begin to broaden your perspective outside of your own personal perception. This is extremely important. The second level of identifying the truth is to begin to know, to question if that truth is true for a collective. So let's say, is the truth that the belief system, I am unworthy, for example, is it true for yourself and for others? Let's start in our family. Let's start in our community. How many people do we know that feel that unworthiness? How many people have we witnessed embody that same belief system? Okay, and so as you begin to identify that, you might realize, wow, I'm surrounded by people that also believe this. In fact, most of their lives are driven with the illusion that they are avoiding that, but in reality, embedding it and passing it on to each next generation. Okay, so the next question would be, well, beyond that, in the world, is this a belief system in the world? Where did that come from? What are some of the systems that push and indoctrinate some of these belief systems. And what do they get out of it? What is their aim? Okay, if you discover that there's a lot of manipulation behind the belief systems that are created in our society, you're going to recognize social engineering, which is exactly what it is. Okay, we are deeply socially engineered to provide specific outcomes in this holographic construct, which we participated in creating through our unconscious states. Okay, because we've been in conscious states of hypnosis, disconnected from ourself and from the reality. This is where we participate in the co-creation of these parasitic systems. And the parasitic systems outside of us are a reflection of all those parasitic belief systems you had with yourself towards yourself. Okay, so the next level is to take it even larger. When you begin to activate your lucidity into dream state, you begin to connect with interdimensional realms. Okay, so does this truth hold its space in those realms? If so, why? If not, how come? Okay, so I want you to begin to observe shifting away from such a myopic vision of justice in immediate feelings and beliefs. Question these beliefs to begin to train yourself to broaden your perspective. This is how you integrate duality. Why? Because most of your dualistic compartmentalized belief systems are charged with one energy, either the imbalanced feminine or the imbalanced masculine. Okay, they are charged with one or the other. And essentially all you have to do is get very familiar with your feminine and masculine aspects. Okay, so if the majority of your belief systems are rooted in wounded feminine beliefs, then you know exactly what part of you is out of balance. If the majority of your belief systems are wounded in wounded masculine beliefs, then you know why you have certain belief systems. And those create an imbalanced, incomplete perception of your reality, completely incomplete. Okay, so in order to embody neutrality, these are the woundings that have to be rebalanced into the neutral feminine, feminine and neutral masculine perceptions. Okay, and so the cultivation of the neutral aspects will allow you to access higher octaves of both feminine and masculine energy, such as receptivity, being passive, contractive, intuitive, inward, right? That's the feminine, the inward, the womb that receives the life force, okay? And the masculine, which is projective, it's active, giving, expansive, outward. It's the actions, the things that are put into manifestation. He is the giver of that life force. Okay, so this is the alchemical marriage that is occurring, the integration of the feminine and masculine aspects, which essentially results in the integration and the embodiment of the 0 point. The embodiment of the 0 point is essentially working with the human to begin to cultivate this universal consciousness. That is how the human trains universal consciousness within itself, which then reflects out into the universe. Okay, all right, so let me come into the chat here. Blanca says, I love you, Geraldine. Thank you for everything. I love you too, Blanca. Thank you so much for being here. Blanca says, question, what does a person who knows themselves look? Sometimes I find that this question has somewhat contradictory answers. What does a person who knows themselves look? What does that person look like? Is that what you mean, Blanca? Clarify that for me. Okay, so how do they look like? Well, a person that knows themselves is the embodiment of self-love, okay, which means that they respect themselves, they have boundaries, they understand how to hold space in their truth and absolute authenticity. Absolute authenticity, radical self-acceptance, and absolute authenticity. And that is not something that people will usually embody, because it takes a lot of courage to be completely authentic, to be able to speak your truth at any time, regardless of or overcoming the fear of our own expression. It doesn't mean that our communication is going to be violent and mean, but it means that you speak your truth and hold your space in that truth. Okay. And again, I just discussed what truth is. We're talking about not just the immediate truth, but the truth for the collective, right? Is this human behaving in alignment with the natural laws? Is this human in alignment with what is good for the collective? And if the answer is no every single time, then you understand this individual is not in alignment with themselves, not in alignment with source. So I guess that's kind of how you would take a look at that. From Lithuania, Inga, so great to see you. Pono, welcome. Blanca says, I was once told during a dream that I was half indigo and half rainbow. Is this possible? Not too sure what to make out of it. Do we update our DNA to fit the current generations? Awesome question. The answer is yes, absolutely, because every single organism that exists is a fractal of infinite potential that is moving through cycles of ascension, cyclical cycles of ascension. It's part of our biology, it's part of our participation in this holographic organic construct, that every single living organism is going through evolution, which is why nobody stays behind. Even if you think that you are not spiritual or not practicing or not conscious, not awake, you are somehow still evolving. And if you're not aware of the evolution, the world outside of you will make you aware through the law of accident, by creating scenarios that shake you out of that state of sleepiness into a state of consciousness. And when we understand that, that's essentially the law of the universe pulling forward its organisms in alignment with the collective. Okay, so that's essentially what we are doing. And of course, when we study DNA, that is directly affecting DNA. Okay, because, and remember, the DNA that writes this physical body, you can't really edit, the fact that you have 5 fingers, 2 arms, 2 legs. We're not talking about the physical manifestation. That's only 2% of the DNA writing process. I'm talking about the rest of the 80%, which makes up the morphogenetic field, the instruction manual that brings into form this physical vessel, is encoding and intercommunicating other information about our interdimensionality. And this is where the holographic DNA is embedding that information in the blueprint of your DNA. So anytime that we have a major awakening state of consciousness, we are activating DNA in that way. Okay, so that's essentially how we are working in that realm. All right, so thank you for that question. And yes, we can be more than indigo and rainbow. We absolutely can, because essentially, we have all of those evolutionary systems in us. It's basically just, if you were to, simplify it, it's almost as if you were to say that you have turned on certain codes of your DNA. That's basically all that indigo and rainbow is. Every generation has access to more information. So Blanca, for sure, you've been doing a lot of internal work activating that. Apoko 414 says the external world is a reflection of the inner self. Absolutely. And so just to make that clear, let me just show you really quickly once again how we influence the external world. It's through the vibrational charge of the emotional body that we input into the world, right? So essentially, if you take a look at this, you begin to see here, oh, I didn't know I could make that screen bigger. That's cool. Essentially, you are learning how to affect your sphere of immediate influence, the sphere of control, your sphere of influence, and then everything else outside of us. Okay, so how is everything a projection? All of the programs that you're running from your energy centers, so the emotional charge that you're processing through the energy centers is essentially being projected through the holographic system, the quantum field, into these dimensional layers of your perception. Okay, so literally the way that you perceive reality is very different than the way I perceive reality. Okay, and those filters of perception have to do with how much we activate in our DNA or deactivate in our perception, our filters. Okay, so essentially understand that you as a creator, a fractal of infinite potential, the more you clear out earth matrix belief systems, the more you can access higher bands of frequency, which allow you to access more universal concepts. Okay, let's go into creator states, right? When we got to talk about creator states, because that is our way of understanding how we actually embody these higher states of consciousness. Okay, so when you're completely embedded in effect, connected to this physical world and all of its interactions, reactions, we are essentially just barely becoming aware of separation. Everything that we're doing is myself and the other. There's no unity consciousness. There's no understanding of truth and the embodiment of truth. Okay, so that is essentially what we're doing there. So, and to answer that question a little bit further and perhaps a little more relevant, that please keep in mind that right now, the wars that are happening in the world outside of us, you see, the outside is a reflection of us ourselves in such a profound way that the wars that are happening externally are a reflection of the war that you have inside of you. Okay, so if you really want to create change in the world, you need to address the shadows within yourself, all the parts of you that have hate, racism, all the parts of you that judge other people. And some of you might say, oh no, I'm not racist, or I am not, I don't judge other people, other cultures, other religions. I don't, have these separating thoughts. Where you think you are separate from another. You need to dig deep inside of you, because a lot of these programs are obviously passed down through our cultures, through our family, through our religions, and we need to dissolve those programs ASAP, immediately, because those are going to bring illness and death to humanity if we choose the timeline of following those separating belief systems into the future. It is important for each one of you to understand the responsibility that you have to create change in this collective is completely starting with you. That's it. So instead of, I don't know, I see so many people, they post on Instagram or on whatever social media about it, but all of that energy that is being expressed into that can be used in cultivating unconditional love in your body or internal harmony in your body, right? So when we're busy judging and putting out that information, we create disharmony in the physical body. So you can do the exact same thing if your body is in a harmonious state. If you're not charged with emotions that go in either direction, you can go ahead and post those things, but make sure that you're not creating a war inside of you and being self-destructive towards yourself. Okay, that's the thing. We are learning how to have a symbiotic relationship with this universe, with the external world, and essentially learning how to hold space for others. You become a beacon of light, which means that you become a beacon from that neutral point, is emerging a state of unconditional love to the collective. This is what heals. And I just was coming into my meditation this morning. The most powerful message that I received was that of embodying gratitude, and the sensation of embodying gratitude in your body really readjust the entire body biochemically, bioelectrically, and through the nervous system, allowing the brain to come into a higher functioning state. Okay, so we need to understand the science of our body. How does our biology function so that we can hijack and move? When we come into this gratitude, hold on. Another thing that is happening is that we're creating mind-body coherence, right? So anytime that we're in states of separation, unfortunately, we can't integrate within us, mind and body. There's a separation. The logical mind that wants to be in survival mode, compartmentalizing everything. And then there's the heart that is the vulnerable state in its truth of authenticity. So when there's a separation between those two, there's always going to be a war internal to you. And these are essentially the masculine and feminine aspects that need to have that alchemical marriage within you that creates that transduction environment. Okay, so this is essentially what we want to process in that. All right, my loves. How to have beautiful hair like Geraldine. Thank you, Maria. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to hear that. Um, all right. Do you make course programs in training lucid dreaming? I am going to make a lucid dreaming course. Actually, then it'll be out in December. In December, we're having a lucid dreaming course. I haven't even published it yet, but I will publish it at the end of this month. I'm so excited about that. But it's actually going to be a little bit longer program. It's going to be a 3-week program that we'll practice one by one, like a challenge, like what we're doing here. Okay. All right, guys, let's get into a quick meditation and then we're going to close this. Go ahead and ground yourself, come into a state of neutrality. And for this meditation, I want you to come into your deep breath as you inhale and exhale. Breathing deeply. Okay. And as you come into absolute stillness, allow yourself to breathe. Inhale deeply and exhale. As you take your attention fully to your breath, feeling the air entering the body and exiting the body. Just practice on bringing your body into absolute stillness. Allow yourself to relax the nervous system. With every inhale and exhale, the nervous system calms down. And for some of you, it might feel like you're in danger right now because your body is coming into a state of vulnerability. So work through releasing all the muscles, the tension in the muscles. I want you to focus on your spinal cord. Go ahead and visualize vacuuming the spinal cord. Allow yourself to detach any heavy attachments that are here in the spinal cord. Most of us that have a lot of heavy subconscious belief systems that we're not aware of accumulate here in the back of the body. Most of you are not even aware of the back of your body. Go ahead and clear it out. You'll notice that it'll allow you to come into a state of more deeper peace, deeper calm. Go ahead and feel the bubble around your body, the sphere around your body. I want you to call back your life force from people, places, and things. Begin to focus and redirect your life force from all the distractions outside of you. In this moment, collect your energy, bring it back into your body. Visualize that golden energy coming back into your body, rejuvenating, re-energizing the body, healing the body. Okay. As you sit still, you're going to notice that there's more layers for relaxation that you may not have been aware of before. Watch yourself and parts of you that resist letting go of holding on to that tension. And gently work through any resistance. Breathing. Go ahead and shrink your root, your sacral, your solar chakra down to the size of a dime. Go ahead and expand your heart, your throat, and your third eye. Okay. Go ahead and anchor source light down through the crown of your head. Go ahead and combine it with the green earth energy, rotating it around your body, clearing the 13 layers of your body. Go ahead and heal Mother Earth, sending 10% of that back down to the center of the earth. Take 80% out through the crown of your head, coating the outside of your sphere. Once again, you're going to call back your energy from people, places, and things that are no longer in alignment with you. Allow yourself to activate the crown chakra, 7th and the 8th. And I want you to visualize that from source comes down a powerful golden light to all the parts of this world that need healing at this time. We're going to visualize the earth as an extension of our own bodies. You're going to visualize directing that infinite potential, that source, into your own body, healing your body. Gently allowing yourself to bring the body into neutrality, into peace, into harmony. Very good. Go ahead and see a room full of contracts. I want you to dissolve those contracts completely. Very good. So go ahead and bring yourself back into the body. Go ahead and open the root, the sacral, the solar chakra. Still breathing, still connecting to that stillness, still expanding the tension in your body. And I want you to activate now with your eyes open. Go ahead and activate the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th chakra. So you're just illuminating the chakras up your crown of your head. The 11th chakra, the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, the 21, 22, 23, and 24. Go ahead and anchor that white source light down into your body and down to the center of the earth. Okay, as you nourish your body, heal your body. I want you to come in profound gratitude for your body. Creating that internal alchemical marriage. Visualize that the 2 parts of you, the 3 parts of you, 4 parts of you are coming back together. Notice all the parts of you that are dispersed. Anytime that we connect with other people, anytime that we even just look at something and judge it or apply some kind of meaning, aspects of ourselves are depleted. So take this moment to review the past 24 hours. How much of your energy is depleted through your day? And just call back that energy into your body in a very compassionate and healing manner. Okay? Very good. Excellent, guys. Welcome back. It is such an honor to hold space with you here today. Teresa says, very hard not to judge, Geraldine. We are always judging, good or bad. Right, and that's only because it's our survival mechanism. Because when you are in survival state and you assess that something is dangerous and gonna lead eventually to death, we want to make sure we don't touch that, right? But the thing is that we actually, in our environments, we need to learn how to handle the emotions of the shadows that are being triggered by the things that we perceive as unknown. Okay, and we have to know. That's the whole point of enlightenment. We bring light to those shadows, to the unknown, so that we can integrate and become one from all of these parts of us that are separate. And actually, it's actually the most safest thing to do is to address and hold space for those shadows so that you can learn how to navigate those unknowns. And the body becomes healthy, vitality, longevity. The intuition is activated. We're deeply connected to our gut feeling, and we are acting in an intuitive, grounded way through our life without being afraid of survival. So there's a part of the ego that wants to judge things just to feel good, or because it's fun, or because, we just enjoy the feeling of playing the game of survival subconsciously. And the other part of us that is actually in survival mode. So we have to grab those two little ego parts of us, two little child parts of us, and make them feel safe again. And when we make these parts of us feel safe, they no longer need to judge something else, good or bad. They just observe, they assess, they integrate, and then they just act. Co-create, actually, which is different than reaction or responding to something. You co-create. You're assessing collectively what is the best for the all, and then making that decision. That is the conscious human. The human that is only making choices for selfish reasons, for themselves, to feel good, to be in survival, to only take care, this is where people just lose that connection. Okay, so thank you so much for that question. Kira says, your teachings are so much in depth. I've done so many courses, they don't teach you all these. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Kira. Thank you so much for that. How long should we meditate daily? As long as you possibly can, okay? So if you have the time and you can meditate, try to meditate at least until you are learning how to really navigate this physical body, regulate that nervous system. That takes time. And then working with your shadow sides of you. Those have to be integrated. Mafona, thank you so much for that super chat. It means so much to me. I'm so grateful to you. Love you, everybody, so much. Have an amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow. All my love. Bye-bye.